Now, the Andhra Pradesh Assembly has been meeting as part of a special session here to discuss the presidential reference given on the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Bill. But if you thought there has been a lot of work there, well, you are mistaken, because every day what we are witness to is a lot of ruckus, pandemonium, with MLAs rushing to the well of the house shouting slogans. You have the YSR Congress and TDP MLAs from Seemandhra demanding that a resolution be brought in favor of a united Andhra Pradesh in the Assembly, while the Telengana MLAs shout pro-Telangana slogans. And according to these statistics provided to me by the Speaker's office, this house spends close to 2 lakh rupees every hour. So you can well imagine how your and my money is being wasted. Joining me now on the Peninsula Update to discuss the implications of this dysfunctional house is K.R. Suresh Reddy, former Speaker of the Andhra Pradesh Assembly. Mr. Reddy, you have been Speaker of the same house. Is getting MLAs to actually debate and engage in some kind of a meaningful discussion such a tough job?
Well, I personally feel it's not, but I don't see any reason why this house should not function, especially when such an important agenda is before them. What really pains me is the fact that there seems to be more of pandemonium than discussion in this house, and it is shrinking away from your responsibilities, and the time has come for the legislators to introspect and see their actions will the actions of theirs strengthen the people's confidence on the legislatures, or would it deteriorate?
Mr. Reddy, you mentioned that there is more pandemonium than actual discussion. So don't you think the institution's credibility is being eroded?
Yes, definitely, because the people look towards the state legislature for a redressal of so many issues, and most important issues as critical as these. Another worrying factor for me is, apart from people's confidence getting lower on these elected houses, we are also setting a bad example for other institutions at the lower level in the Panchayati Raj, be it Zilla Parishad, or at the lower level up to Gram Panchayat, where meaningful discussions seem to be a distant dream rather than, the way our parliamentary democracy should flourish.
Mr. Reddy, stay on with us. Joining us also is filmmaker and brand consultant Vijay Marur. Mr. Marur, do you see Generation Next belief in such democratic institutions continuing if this kind of a charade goes on?
Sudhir, the one thing we've learned over the years is that brands take years to build and minutes to destroy. And, over the last many years, we've built a brand called Hyderabad. And it's a pity to see that all the good that's been done is being destroyed methodically by horrible examples of behavior, it's almost as if someone has lost control. And it's become more of a platform where you just come and make a fool of yourself. And in the process, you're making a fool of all these people who have voted for you, the legislators and so on and so forth, who seem to be doing everything but what they're supposed to be doing.
Also joining us is Mr. Amit Prasad, MD of Satnav Technologies, and someone who follows the political developments very closely. Mr. Prasad, does it reflect some kind of an arrogance of this political class that they think that they can actually indulge in anything and still get away with it?
In many ways, yes, there is arrogance. There is a feeling that I can do what I want, I'm not answerable. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, I feel it's also the losing of the direction as to what a politician stands for. In my opinion, we elect our MLA or MP and we give him a job. As part of the job that we give him, he gets certain salary, he gets certain perks, and we expect him to do a certain job for that period in which we have appointed him. So that whole concept of the reason why you are there seems to have been lost, and that is moving into arrogance, it's moving into apathy or whatever it is today.
So Mr. Prasad, they continue to play to the gallery, so would you suggest that they need to be trained to do the job that we actually vote them to go to the assembly and do?
Yes, I would completely agree that the need of the hour is a kind of an awareness. See, let's look at the corporate world. Whether we hire a person who's at the front desk or we hire somebody who's in the corner office, you always give a certain role, you give a responsibility, you give certain measurable areas or KRAs, and then you say, okay, this is what I want you to do, and you will be measured yearly. Now, when you look at it from the politician aspect, they are having a much more important role to play. Actually, they are going to decide the future of the country. They are going to decide what their local citizens benefit or do not benefit from their work. So, understanding that this is also a role and giving that training, a formal training program would be wonderful if it is led to explain as to what you need to have as the inherent skills in order to take that job. And once you take that job, what are the 5 things that we expect you to do?
Mr. Suresh Reddy, you heard Amit Prasad there suggesting that some kind of training is required. As a former speaker of the Andhra Pradesh Assembly, would you say that these MLAs need to be told what their job profile expects them to do?
Well, I don't think so that we need any kind of a special training for legislators. I think there is enough public pressure, but the responsibility lies more on the party leaders in the respective houses of their respective parties to ensure that the house functions and support the speaker to discharge his duties. Sudhir, you are aware that in the legislature we have a committee called Public Accounts Committee, which scrutinizes every rupee spent on public sector. So the same committee today, the time has come where they should realize that what the money being spent on legislature in terms of salaries and perks to the legislators, is it being fairly and done to the level what people expect them to do so. So the Public Accounts Committee or similar committees need to come forward and take a view on this public expenditure also.
Right, that's a valid point that you make, Mr. Suresh Reddy. Mr. Marur, we are just 4 months away from the elections. Go out and vote is a major slogan that we hear every time around election time. When people see this kind of a performance by the MLAs in the assembly, would it really inspire people to go out and vote?
This has been the bane of this whole campaign of please go out and vote, because the feeling of even if I go out and vote, what is this guy going to do for me? Is he going to land up in the well of the house again and tear up a bill or something of that sort? Or is he going to actually represent my feelings, my thoughts, my desires, my requirements? It's a kind of contra thing, you know. There's a campaign saying, please go out and vote. And we all respect that. But more and more you see these gentlemen misbehaving, you feel that I don't want to be a part of this at all.
Right, maybe then Nota would be a viable alternative option. Last word to you, Amit Prasad. Isn't it very ironical that the same politicians who spend an enormous amount of money to get elected to these legislative assemblies actually go there and do no work at all?
True. I think India is maturing as far as that democracy is concerned. It's maturing a little. The only time I felt proud of my parliament was when we had them extending up to December 30th, December 31st and trying to pass the Lokpal bill just because Anna was on fast. So that's a nice thing that we saw. They responded and they did things. It was a very positive feeling. So maybe the need of the hour is like how Fiscal Responsibility Act has come and they cannot exceed beyond a certain percentage. Today there's a limit on how many ministers you can have considering the total size. I think the time has come now to say if X number of working days are there and if we default, if we have walkouts, if we do not transact business, then we'll have to sit extra. We'll have to sit on the weekend. We'll have to forego the festival. Something like that, some like-minded politicians will come forward. I'm very confident that in the near future we are going to see a rule where they will come forward and they'll say we have to do these many days of business, so we might as well not waste away the effective days which are there.
Right. Hopefully some of our netas are listening to those words which make a lot of sense and some meaningful debate will take place in the Andhra Pradesh Assembly. Thanks a lot Suresh Reddy, Vijay Marur and Amit Prasad for joining me on the Peninsula Update.